Hi everyone, I'm Sandy, and today I am back with my 1001 book countdown, and I have a dark book and a weird book for you today. Let's get to it. Okay, so as always, if you're not familiar with the 1001 book countdown, I will leave a card up here for you so you can go check out all of the details about it. But it's basically book reviews off of the 1001 books you must read before you die list. And I'm making so much progress. It just makes my list making self so happy. So, but for today, we're going to go ahead and put up the numbers, which we are at 968 and 14, which is my 2021 number. And I actually have two books for today. So that's also very, very, very exciting. The first book is Blood Meridian by Cormac McCarthy. So this book was originally published in 1985, and it's around the middle kind of Cormac McCarthy's work. It's not his debut. It's not the last one. And it is set in the 1850s along the Texas and Mexico border. This is an incredibly dark book. It follows a character who you only know as the kid, and the kid starts off, just unfortunately, right off the top being shot. And, his life is one that is full of chaos and misfortune, and every group he seems to go along with is, it doesn't do well, basically. And so you follow the kid as he works his way through different kind of groups, an army, and then I'm not sure if you call it a bandits, kind of Indian hunters, lots of different kind of places that he ends up going, or different groups he ends up with. And ultimately he ends up with a group that is run by the Judge Holden. And the Judge is a larger than life character who is described as being very, very tall and very, very pale and hairless, I believe. And he's also very, very smart, the Judge, and shows that many times throughout the novel, even in the very first couple of scenes. And the way he gets rid of a preacher that's there was very, very clever, and much to the misfortune of the preacher. But he also is it's kind of difficult to figure out, the Judge, but you have a lot of interactions, or lots of following the Judge around and the people who he's interacting with, the kid, a number of other characters in here. And it is one of those novels that I think you either are going to love it or just really hate and despise this book. So one of the positive sides of this book is that there is some absolutely gorgeous writing in here when Cormac McCarthy is discussing or talking about scenes and the landscapes and things like that. Just this absolutely beautiful prose. And you're reading it and I was just going, oh, this is absolutely amazing. And then you will have a sudden bit of unexpected and deeply terrifying violence against a wide variety of different people. They didn't really discriminate against age or gender or ethnicity. They just killed a lot of people and had a lot of violence against a lot of different groups in this book. And it was always with this idea of it being very unfeeling. Like, you never saw emotions get high in this book. It didn't matter really what was going on. It just always seemed to be everyone was super calm through all of this. And it was terrifying to read. And there is a lot of very explicit, unexpected violence in this book. So if that's a trigger for you, know that this book has that. And some violence against, young children. That's very disturbing to read. There's a couple of chapters in here that leave you reeling, absolutely reeling with what's done. And you just kind of read them going, oh my goodness. My downsides to this book is that I didn't really understand kind of like the purpose of what they were actually doing. They were making their way along, trying to get to California, but it was never really clear, like, what their purpose really was. And for me, that was a little bit of a difficulty, combined again with the violence, the heavy violence, and then these beautiful moments. And the other issue I had was really around the ending, and I don't want to spoil it for anyone, but the ending left me kind of scratching my head. And I did this as a buddy read with one of my subscribers who goes by Moon Poem. She's an avid commenter on people's channels, and she and I had a wonderful time going back and forth talking about this book and trying to decipher what was going on. And what was really interesting is at the end, we both had a slightly different idea of what maybe happened. And I had to go back and read the end again and read it again. And then I read it aloud to Moon Poem on Voxer going, is this the part you were talking about? Because I couldn't really get exactly what happened. And maybe that's what McCarthy meant to do, is like just leave you with that sense of uncertainty about what actually happened. A couple of things, like with the kid, you never get a name for the kid. He's always just the kid. And it is fascinating to kind of watch him go through all of these different things. But if you read this book, know it is full of blood and gore and violence, and yeah, it's very tough. It earns its name, Blood Meridian, in this book. And so yeah, would I recommend it? I mean, it's an interesting one. I'm not sure who kind of would like it. I have read The Road by Cormac McCarthy, and there's some gruesome scenes in The Road, and this kind of has a similar feel to it as far as like the lack of punctuation when you're going through. They don't really tell you who's talking a lot of the time, and there's no quotes around when someone's speaking, and so you have to kind of pay attention when you're going through it. But I don't know if the word enjoy is the right one, but I was fascinated by it, absolutely fascinated by it. But it is dark, violent, and absolutely just full of characters that will pull you in and make you go, what in the heck is going on? But that is Blood Meridian, and with that, we get to go from 968 to 967, and it is on my 2021 list. So we are going from 14 to 13. Yay! And I do have another book for you. So this is one that I swapped out. I had Gravity's Rainbow on my list and decided that I wasn't ready to read Gravity's Rainbow by Thomas Pynchon. And so I swapped it out for The Crying of Lot 49 by Thomas Pynchon. And this book is very small, but there's a lot in this book, and it is so incredibly confusing, this book. This was published in 1966, and from what I can tell was Pynchon's second novel. And one of the things I noted about this, let me get this. So one of the things that let me go back. This follows a character named Oedipa Maas, M-A-A-S, I think is how you say it. Maas or Mass is how you say her name. And she has just discovered that she is an executor of a will for someone that she used to know and hadn't really been associating with recently, and is brought to try and help decipher what was in the will. And that is really just a very small portion of the story. She ends up traveling and meets with the lawyer who's the co-executive of the will. Lots of stuff happened with them. She's trying to track down some things with like some of the property and some of potential forgeries. There's also this really weird section of like her trying to find this kind of conspiracy thing, trying to figure out if it was real, figure out if it's actually if it was actually real, or if the person who died set this up as some big elaborate plot. And The Crying of Lot 49, you find out what that means at the very end of the book. So the fun things about this book, the names of the characters were absolutely just astounding to me. So Oedipa Maas was one. Her husband's name was Mucho Mas. So, you know, much more in Spanish. And then there was a Professor Quackenbush, a Dr. Hilarious, you know, some of those things. But this book is just all over the place. And I I struggled to understand what in the heck this was. I can't even really give it a rating without maybe reading it again, because I read it and I absorbed it, and I still struggle to say exactly what this book is about. So I think I'm going to have to either read it again or just say, okay, I can't figure this particular book out. But it really does follow Oedipa. She is the main character of this, and it is over a very short period of time while she's the executor of this will. But yeah, lots of weird kind of sub stories. There's one section where they go, this is a very short book, and they take 9 pages to discuss a play. And there's a couple of like different sections where there's something about bones, and then there's something about stamps, and then there's like conspiracy stuff, and then there's weird like relationship stuff, and there's this weird band that kind of comes around, and it's just like, what? Like, what? So I'm fascinated by it, though. I think I may actually have to read it again, because I still don't fully understand, and maybe a reread will help me. I don't know. Maybe that's optimistic, but this was the next book that I finished. Thankfully, it was very, very short. But yeah, Stephanie Cohen, I think, had said that there's a lot packed into this, and she's absolutely correct. There's a lot packed into it, so much that I'm not sure I got it. So maybe I will read it again at some point. But The Crying of Lot 49 by Thomas Pynchon takes us from 967 to 966, and since it's also on my 2021 list, we go from 13 to 12. Yay, yay, yay. I haven't started my next 1001 book yet. I have 4 different options, so I will be picking something up this weekend and hope to have something for you for next weekend's countdown. But as always, like, comment, and subscribe. And until next time, everyone, thanks. Bye.